Welcome, please. I thought you were running out the door there, Gerry.
So close. How's you all doing? I feel quite humbled speaking to see the list of speakers and listen to the speakers before me. I'm just a wee barn off from Belfast who just sort of hitting something. But seeing as the talkers are about resilience, I suppose in many ways I've had to sort of get myself back up on my feet a couple of times. I think I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, my parents came from a different generation, and their attitude was you went to school and then you went to work, and if you didn't go to work there was something wrong. It didn't seem, so I never had any support in any of the ideas I had of any of the businesses. And one of the first ones that I had, I've always been in hospitality. Very first job I ever had was glass collector, and then I built myself up to being a bar back and then a barman. And then I got involved with bands and putting bands in bars and doing posters and then managing bands, and that really worked quite successful for about 5 years. And then was making mistakes like when you would do a tour for a band, and instead of sitting in the office and organising other tours, I went on the tours with the bands, and that was great crack at the time. Not the best business idea, but you'll learn as you go along. Another idea I had, this is quite a few years ago now, you're all very young in this room, but does anybody remember diagnostic tuning of cars? No, see, these are all young, you were too young. So years ago, you used to go to a garage and you used to get what was called diagnostic tuning, and it would cost about 50 quid. And the whole idea was you went into the garage, you spent about half an hour in the garage, and when you come out, your car used less petrol. It started every morning, it was brilliant. And I had a mate who was an auto electrician, and I had, well, wouldn't it be a brilliant idea if you could bring this to people's homes or their place of work, and they wouldn't have to go to the garage, and we'll be able to charge them a really reasonable rate. And Eamon was one of the best auto electricians about in the country, without any doubt. So he was all for it. I went out, bought all the gear, and then started advertising up Nuts Corner, putting leaflets in every car. There must have been 2,000 cars, and the phone started ringing. It was brilliant. And then when we started, Eamon says, "No, I can't do it, because my boss says if I do it, he's going to sack me." And I went, "Jesus, what am I doing?" So we got the instruction books, and I went, another wee bit, and I says to him, "Can't be that hard, we'll learn as we go along." And we were learning, but not quick enough. And it was brilliant because most of the places we went to, the people weren't working, they left their keys at reception, so it meant we could take a bit of time, and it was brilliant. And we did, I'm quite happy to say we've done a good job. But then one day we went to this man's house in a wee mini, but he was there. So we had all the tubes coming out of the exhaust, and all these wires coming out of the engine, and it looked absolutely, I was amazed myself. It looked brilliant. And Ian was at the back with this box with about 14 different dials on it, and I'm at the front revving up the engine, and we were tinkering away, and the guy came out and he went, that looks so impressive. And he went round to the back to Eamon, and he says, that's unbelievable. He says, "What exactly does that tell you?" And Eamon looked at him and went, "I don't fucking know." So we had to run down the road. So he made us gather our gear, and we had to run down the road. So it was from that exact moment that I said, if I ever go into business again, I'm going to surround myself with the right people. Because I honestly believe if Eamon had come on board with us, we would have had the best business in the world, and it would have been brilliant. So from then I says, what I'll do if I ever go into business again, say surround myself with the right people. Back into hospitality, quite happy managing bars. The last bar I managed was the John Hewitt, which I was there almost 12 years. But I'd always got the feel for getting my own business again and having my own brand. So I was getting too close to 60, and I went, right, I'm going to have to do something. Decided that I would do gin, because simply it was the only spirit I ever drank. It wasn't that I knew there was going to be a big gin craze. In fact, all my friends said, "Gerry, what are you doing gin for? Sure, nobody drinks gin anymore." But it's because of what I drink. I think if you do anything, you have to do something that you've got a passion for. So I said, right, it has to be gin. Went out, got the name trademarked. Jawbox. Does anybody know what a Jawbox is? There's a very specific reason why I call the gin Jawbox, and it genuinely boils down to my grandmother, because she always used to tell me about back in the day when people used to. Not everyone would have the privilege or the pleasure of having their own kitchen or scullery, so there would have been a big Belfast sink, may have been shared between a couple of houses or a couple of families, and people would have gathered around it and done all their washing on it, and so it became a focal point. It was where people met, shared their stories, told their tales, so it was the jaws going around the box. And to this very day, if you go to a good house party, what room does everybody end up in? Standing in the kitchen, round the sink, with hopefully a wee Jawbox, you know. So that's where the name come from, and I wanted to conjure up an image. I never wanted to get the image of anybody sitting on their own around a table or sitting under a bar. I wanted to conjure up the image of friends having a drink, sharing those same stories, telling the tales, and that's where the name comes from. So I registered the name 2014, then I started going around meeting different distillers, different distribution companies, and I was getting to the point, my partner was like starting to get really worried because it's cashed in what savings I had, it cashed in my pension, which wasn't like that, all in total wasn't really even that much. But after a couple of years that was starting to wear out, and I wasn't really meeting the right people. Well, I could have been meeting the right people, but my gut feeling was, no, that these are not the people. And then I got a phone call from the guys in Trixology who had met nicely, but they were too busy. They said, like, we'd love to come on board with you. They introduced me to another couple of distillers. I met Shane from Macklinville Distillery, where Jawbox is now made. And Shane was the only distiller that didn't want to talk about money. Every other distiller that I met, it was all about graphs and business plans and money. Everything was around cash. And Shane was the only one that said, let's get the liquid right first. Let's make sure the gin's right, and then we'll talk about the money in the business side of it. And then the guys in Trixology, they were the top of their game, absolutely the best. So I knew I didn't want to lose any of these guys, so I put it to them like, I have no money left. I'm practically skipped now, so why don't we all go in together as equal partners? So the four of us have the same goal, the same passion for the project. And I think that's why Jawbox has actually become so successful. I mean, social media is a wonderful thing because Jawbox is starting to appear all around the world. Best one is seen, we born in Hong Kong called Dr. Fern's. And Dr. Fern's is a gin cocktail bar, but it's run like a pharmacy. So whenever you go in, there's a wee guy on the desk with a wee white coat on, and he'll say to you, what sort of a day have you had? And you tell him what sort of a day, and he'll make you a cocktail depending on what sort of a day you've had. But he rates it out like a prescription, and then you bring it up to the bar. And then the guys there, it's all done like a chemist, and the guys there then make you your prescription. I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant idea. It would never work here because you know what's going to happen. You walk in, what sort of day you had? Oh, desperate. Get the prescription, bring it up the bar, and the guy's going to turn around and go, and by the way, mate, I don't pay for my prescriptions. So it would never work here, so it wouldn't. But social media is brilliant. I mean, Jawbox it's now in Australia, where we're used for the Australian Irish Film Festival. In Sydney and Melbourne, so that was just massive for me, you know. But at the start, I mean, at the very, very start, it was all you guys here who supported the brand, went out and bought it, and it is still available in all good retail outlets. So you guys were the first, you know, to get behind me and support me. All the bar staff in Belfast and throughout the north got behind me. Jawbox was actually, wee quick story, was launched in Linhall Library. And you couldn't launch Jawbox in a bar, because if you launch in one bar, you're just going to annoy other bars, then they're not going to stock it. So when you couldn't launch it in a bar, I had done a lot of research about old Belfast in Linhall Library. So, and it's beautiful inside. If you've never been in, make a point to get in. Beautiful staircase. really historical Belfast building. And so I tried to convince them. They went, no, we don't do drink lunches. We're a library. And I went, no, it has to be in here. So I went back to them and I says, I've got the Lord Mayor of Belfast, he's going to launch it for me. And they went, well, that's different. That makes it a more civic event. I went, that's brilliant. Walked out and I went, Jesus, how am I going to get the Lord Mayor of Belfast? So I went over to the City Hall, that's God's honest truth, over to the City Hall and I says, is the Lord Mayor in? And they went, son, it doesn't really work that way. I was so chuffed she called me son. It was 59. So eventually got in touch with him and he was brilliant. And he says, right, I'll do it for you. He says, but there's one thing I will not do. And I says, what's that? It was Nordic Carson at the time. He says, I'll launch the gin for you because I'm in the City Hall that night. He says, one thing I won't do. I says, what's that? He says, I won't drink gin, but you can buy me a bottle of brandy. So Jawbox Gin was launched in Lindenhall Library in Belfast and it cost me a bottle of brandy. So it can only happen in Belfast. We've gone from strength to strength. As I say, we're 30 different countries now. We're fastly approaching doing 100,000 cases a year, from starting off 500 cases a month. And we've got 2 liqueurs out as well. So we've got the rhubarb and ginger, good County Down rhubarb. We've got the pineapple and ginger liqueur, locally sourced pineapples. We sourced them in Tesco and Knocknagoona. And we're working on a few other things as well. So I'm sorry for bunking the queue, it's just I have to go to another event. So, but it's brilliant. And thanks to Gerry for giving me the opportunity to share a wee bit of my story. And the one thing I'll just leave you with, always says to me was, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think that's the thing. Surround you. One thing I learned was, and see when you start to get successful, I've seen it more now. And the thing I found out as well, I've never had as many cousins in my life. So just, oh my God, it's unbelievable. But if you avoid negative people totally, because they'll try and bring you down, because they don't want, there's certain people out there that don't like to see people being successful. Thankfully, people from the north, I think as long as you're genuine and you've got the integrity, you will get the support without any doubt whatsoever. If you try and chance your arm with people, they'll walk away from you. But avoid the negative people and surround yourself with the right people and intelligent people, and they'll help you grow. And that's why Jawbox's word is today, because after the other experiences I had, the one thing that I done was to make sure, and I promised myself, next project to do, surround yourself with the right people. So listen, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and thank you, Gerry, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Gerry. How could you